Away from politics, government will in the coming weeks begin the process of renaming the Kotoka International Airport. It will now be called the Accra International Airport once legislative processes are completed. Well, the plan was revealed by Majority Leader Mahama Ayariga at a news conference ahead of Parliament's resumption after a month and a half break. James Aveji has more in the following report.
Of Parliament in this maiden press engagement ahead of the second session of Parliament gave an update on the job that has been done as well as the backlog from 2025, but most especially the preparation of the House ahead of the President John Dramani Mahama's delivery of the State of the Nation's address for 2026.
Expect in this meeting to take the President's report on the state of the nation. That's a major item of this meeting. That's a major item of this meeting. Just like last meeting of last session, the major item was the budget, if you recall. So usually in each meeting, there's something major that occurs during that meeting. So I would say that the major highlight of this meeting will be the President's presentation of the State of the Nation report to Parliament, pursuant to the constitutional obligation that he has. And so you should be preparing towards that.
The Majority Leader Mahama Ayariga also gave a forecast of what to expect from the various ministries, departments and agencies in terms of bills coming to the House, especially some number of bills, an amendment from the Energy Minister to effect some changes in the energy sector, as well as a bill to change the name of the Kotoka International Airport to Accra International Airport.
But the Minister for Energy plans to bring a bill to enact a new National Petroleum Authority Act. They also want to bring a bill to establish a Ghana Bunkering Services Agency. And then also, as you would recall, there is a program to involve the private sector in electricity distribution. And these are things that will have to come to Parliament for approval. There's been a lot of renegotiation of the various power purchase agreements with independent power producers. These are matters that have to come to Parliament. The Nuclear Power Corporation bill will also come. There's a proposal to establish a Renewable Energy Authority. So the bill to establish that will also be here. And then there's a new proposal to merge PURC and EC to establish the Ghana Energy Regulatory Commission. So a bill to that effect will come. And then some regulations relating to the West Africa gas pipeline will also come from the Ministry of Energy. And we are changing the name of our airport from Kotoka International Airport to Accra International Airport. So a bill will be brought by the Minister for Transport for the name of the airport to be changed from Kotoka International Airport to Accra International Airport. So the Accra International Airport bill will also come.
Alexander Penyumakin indicated that they will collaborate with the majority, but the majority, as well as the Speaker, must be more accommodating this year.
It is our view that when it comes to legislative activities, the NDC majority's legislative agenda has basically focused on doing some policies and rolling out new social intervention programs. That we believe that if they continue old policies of the MPP administration in the spirit of continuity in governance, it will help our country. We've seen 33 bills that were fast-tracked under certificate of urgency, a procedure usually reserved for emergencies. We've not been happy about it. I hope that I will get the majority leader's assurance to allow for more engagement. We hold a view that in this meeting, the majority should be more accommodating. They must hear us. They must allow the minority to do more advocacy. We expect Speaker to be admitting more and more of our motions. Last year, we went through a lot of frustrations. You file a motion, decline, and sometimes it comes in at a late hour, 11th hour. A typical example was the motion we filed on the CJ nomination. We filed it on time, and we wanted to advocate our issues on the House floor over 2 weeks. It was midnight of the Friday preceding the Monday where we were going to do the vetting that the clerk communicated that our motion has been rejected. I mean, that was quite frustrating. And you know, when we tried to deal with our issue at the vetting, the majority leader decided to use a tactics of point of order to keep us struggling. But it's all part of politics. He has his strategy. We must also have our strategy.
The majority leader, Mahama Yariga, also responded to questions about the status of the Honorable Bejra report on the chaos that rocked the appointment last year, and this is the update he's been given.
The committee report, I believe, is ready, and I believe that Speaker will look at it, and then we will get some indication what to do about it. I agree with you that it's a matter that dents the image of Parliament, and Parliament must seem to also be accountable in terms of its conduct. So I have no doubt that in due course, Speaker will give some direction on taking that particular report.
With this update from the leadership, it is expected that the second session of the 9th Parliament would be a very busy one as government pushes to deliver on key promises through Parliament, and as the minority also readies to hold both government and the other side, the majority, to account. From Parliament House here in Accra, I am James Savage for Joy News.
And away from Parliament, as the Ghana Cocoa Board races against time to rethink its financing scheme in cocoa purchases, some farmers in the Ashanti region are contemplating smuggling the beans to neighboring countries and selling off their lands to illegal miners. For 3 months now, the farmers have eagerly awaited payments for the bags of cocoa beans they sold to the Cocoa Board through licensed cocoa buying companies. Well, their regular visits to the cocoa purchasing companies for their monies have proven futile, throwing many of them into a real struggle in fending for themselves and family. Emmanuel Bright-Kweku traveled to Kofiase, a small cocoa farming community in the Ashanti region, and reports.
David Berko and his wife come through their parcel of cocoa farm in the Kofiase community of the Ashanti region in desperate search for ripe cocoa pods. After hours of frantic search, they collect a basket of the pods and head to their thatched house sitting in the middle of the deep cocoa plantation. This has been their source of livelihood for nearly 3 decades, but the past few months have been unprecedentedly difficult.
Times
are hard now. We used the initial payment to settle our labors. Because I have no money, I told my son to stay home from school.
2 days school school. It's coming in one more. When I'm not school
For 3 months now, the couple have not received any funds for the cocoa beans they supplied to the local license buying company. Requesting money due them has become a daily struggle, throwing them into untoward hardship. Yesterday we ate ampesi, This morning, we have no cash on us for food. The purchasing clerk told us to come for the money, but when my husband went there, he told me there isn't any now. We have been chasing the money since.
Amen.
Few meters away from David's abode, I meet Shaibu, also a cocoa farmer. His story isn't any different. We are suffering. We have no money. I thought you had come here to give me money. My wife has left me alone in the bush to cater for our children. This has been the plight of many cocoa farmers across the country. After receiving October payments, funds for all the harvests they made from November to date have not been paid. The joy that erupted after the government increased cocoa prices has been short-lived. This government cares less about the cocoa sector. We've never been in this situation before. Government in October 2025 set its farm gate price at 58,000 cedis per metric ton, selling at approximately 3,228 cedis per 64 kilogram. The price adjustment came with a new cocoa financing regime. The Cocoa Board announced no syndicated loans were secured for the 2025-2026 crop season. Randy Abe is the CEO of the Cocoa Board.
Previous year, the thing delayed to 22nd December. Never happened before. And we didn't even get what we wanted and had to go to Ministry of Finance for some $70 million or something, which is also a debt, to be able to do the financing of the cocoa. So we were in troubled waters. So the buyers agreed to then finance the crop so that they'll be able to retrieve those low price contracts now, whilst they can also buy a bit of this. However, as I speak, Ministry of Finance, NEA, we are looking at a financing model.
Another one?
Yes, we are looking at a financing model moving beyond 25-26.
The reworked cocoa financing system saw farmers sell beans to licensed buying companies, which then sell to the Cocoa Board, and through its marketing arm, Cocoa Board sells the cocoa to international buyers. The arrears have seen many licensed buying companies operating under Cocoa Board halt purchases. Kojo Edubofo is a purchasing clerk for Olam at a corner.
Number 2, yasa credit cocoa ni bi wo company nchen do officer or say farmers ni sika no
the money isn't coming. We've credited some bags of cocoa beans, which we expect payments are made for them. The LBCs have informed us not to take any cocoa again.
And they say free office and as a government companies,
Data from the Bank of Ghana indicates cocoa traded at approximately $58,000 per ton on the global markets as of December 2025, declining from over $11,000 at the beginning of this year. Industry sources say the recent decline in international prices has made it difficult for Cocoa Board to secure advance payments from traders, forcing the central bank to step in to provide funding. Professor Robert Edo is an agriculture economist at the KNUST.
It's difficult to understand how they are going to manage things because, see, wanting to get the most from the international market is good, but I think that it doesn't have to be done by sacrificing the welfare of the farmer. We must find a way to raise internal funds to pay the farmer off. If it continues this way, it means that the light crop that is going to come, many farmers will rather prefer to cross the border.
While some farmers find alternative farming to support their families, others are contemplating smuggling and selling off their lands to illegal miners.
ahoso na do akwakoche e dey say yenyeska me nyaska beto me mafuo na amagaram say ni ajiska e be say ade bia kokoro na bia no what are you oka.
Government is now focusing on gold, and if that's the case, then I won't sell my land to illegal miners to get the money due me. I will also smuggle. If my child is sent home for owing fees, I'll go back to the school and inform them the government owes me. Sources indicate that Cocoa Board is rethinking its financing strategy as large amounts of cocoa beans pile up in farms, putting investments at serious risk.
I do not know how much government has raked in from the gold project that it is doing. So far it appears the economy is running on the gold process. And so if they could also use part of the process to pay cocoa farmers, it will help. In the past, Ghana has survived on the inflows from cocoa. So at this point when Ghana is not ready to sell or is not getting enough immediately, I think that they need to also find alternative ways of sorting out the cocoa farmer.
Someone brought me 2 kilos of cocoa. I couldn't buy them. But one question lingers on the minds of the cocoa farmers as they harvest the beans. Who will buy them after drying?
So, cocoa farmers are really anxious for respite. They go through a lot of drudgery to give us some of the golden beans that we export to our countries. But in the past months, it has been a Herculean tax and economic woes for most of them living, especially in our rural communities. And they are anxious for government intervention, an immediate one, of course. From here at Kofiase, in the Ashanti region, for Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright Kweku.
Well, thank you, Emmanuel, for that beautiful report. Let's interrogate this disturbing issue. And joining me on Zoom right now is Nana Obuadia. He's the president of the Concerned Farmers Association. Also on Zoom is Sam Jerome, who's the head of public affairs at the Ghana Cocoa Board. And on the line as well is Dr. Godfred Seidu Jasor. He's the chairman of Parliament's Committee on Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs. Gentlemen, grateful for your time this afternoon. Let me begin with you, Obuadia. How serious is this challenge on the ground? Kindly unmute your microphone so we can hear you. Hello, Obuadia. Right. We're having challenges connecting via Zoom to Obuadia, but I'll come back to him later. But in the meantime, let's speak to Jerome from the Ghana Cocoa Board. Grateful for your time this afternoon. These farmers are complaining that they're considering smuggling their cocoa farmers to neighboring countries or even selling their lands to illegal miners. They're blaming your outfit for delay in arrears. What is the reason for those delays?
So thank you very much. I think it is an issue that we also take it quite seriously. I mean, all the concerns raised by the farmers have come to the attention of Cocoa Board. And then as we speak, I mean, there are a lot of meetings going on to finding solution to dealing with this particular issue. I mean, it's a cocktail of issues. So you cannot isolate a particular issue and then deal with, but you need to box it together to find, I mean, a lasting solution to some of these things. So the farmers agitating, we really do understand, but we need to understand what is happening so that at least all the stakeholders will appreciate the state that Cocoa Board finds itself. Look, we all know that we used to have syndication or syndicated loan. But quite unfortunately, from 2024, Cocoa Board has not been going for that syndicated loan. So which meant that there is no guarantee in respect of finding seed money to be given to the license buying companies. So when we were doing syndication, irrespective of whatever happens on the international market, whether the prices will drop or not, we have kind of secured ourselves in terms of, funding. But now that is not the case anymore. Largely, the off-taker or the international buyer pre-finances the purchase of cocoa. So if the person says that, okay, the tonnage that I want to buy, I have bought it, then it becomes an issue. You have to renegotiate and find ways and means to dealing with this whole situation. We find it very regrettable with some cocoa farmers saying that since November, they've not had monies for cocoa that they've sold. It is not entirely the case because some of the farmers have received money. And we also do acknowledge that some too haven't. And those who largely haven't received money are those who made sale of their cocoa beans to the LBCs that did not have off-takers or direct monies coming in from the off-taker. So Cocoa Board is in consultation or in a meeting with these affected LBCs to finding ways and means that we can pay them their money so they can also settle whatever outstanding that they have with the cocoa farmer. But as to a farmer, out of the person's frustration saying that he or she will smuggle the cocoa, I beg to differ. I say so authoritatively because you smuggle to get benefit. As we speak, Ghana's cocoa bean remains the overpriced cocoa bean on the African continent. So should you go to Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, or Togo, you cannot get the price that you are getting in Ghana. So the problem that we are even dealing with at the moment as a country is that we have cocoa coming in from other neighboring countries because farmers in those jurisdictions are not getting value in terms of what pricing for the cocoa bean that's they have produced. So I beg to differ and say that if you smuggle the cocoa bean, you are not going to get anything better. And also the issue that they want to sell their lands to, illegal miners and what have you. It's quite unfortunate, and we really would appeal to them not to do that. But if you go ahead to do that, possibly you are affecting the revenue or the income of just about 10,000 people working at Cocoa Board. But we are talking about over 800,000 farm families, which translated to some 4 million people who live on the incomes of cocoa. So if out of this temporal frustration, you take a decision of an eminent adverse effect on you, then the issue really had not been looked into properly. So we are appealing to them. Yes, it is an issue that they deserve, or they are at liberty to vent their anger, their frustrations and complaints. That is why, as a board, we have taken everything in good faith and making sure that we do not find a temporary solution, but find a lasting solution which would deal with some of these issues and not reoccur again. As we speak, Cocoa Board is in talks both with government as well as the international buyers as to how best we can deal with this situation, because it is unheard of. It's not something that we have experienced, because a price of almost 12,000 2 years ago, today we are having to deal with 4,100. That tells that even the price, the percentage given to the cocoa farmer last year, which is 5,040, we are not getting that on the international market. And the obvious fact is also that Cocoa Board will have to spend not less than 6,300 at the point of what? Shipping the cocoa. So every ton of cocoa, it should tell you the amount that Cocoa Board is what? Cocoa Board is losing if Cocoa Board decides to accept the current price which is being sold on the international market. And it is also a fact that because our cocoa bean remains expensive on the international market, there are some buyers who are also considering other markets or other jurisdictions to finding at least a cheaper cocoa bean. So the question is that, are we to move in quickly to accepting whatever that is on the international market and subsequently present same to our farmers, or we are to holistically look into the issues and find a permanent solution whereby both Cocoa Board as well as our gallant farmers will win.
Right.
So this has been the issues that we are really dealing with.
Sam, I want you to hold on for me. Let me bring in Obwade. I understand your connection is better now. How serious is this issue on the ground? You are a part of the farmers.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, and then good evening to your viewers. Well, we did a toll on that based on this non-payment. We made a toll through the various cocoa farming community, and then the feedback that we had during our interaction with the farmers, it is very serious because some of them need the money. Others have even budgeted their money to take their kids to school. Others have scholarship that they are supposed to move away from this country, which they were looking for the money, and then there's no money. And then we have people too that have placed some loans, have taken some money from other people that they also have to pay, which they are not getting. So when you go to the ground, I mean, it's something that some of the farmers that weren't paid, or maybe their cocoa wasn't bought for some time, now are facing serious challenge.
Let me bring in Dr. Said, we just saw in at the moment. He's the chairman of Parliament's Agric and Cocoa Affairs Committee. Grateful for your time this afternoon. What is Parliament's position on this, and has this matter even come to your attention?
Good evening. We thank you for the opportunity. We have information. Our attention has been brought to this development where some cocoa farmers are struggling to get payments, at least from December or so, up to date for cocoa beans sold. Some are still holding some cocoa beans in stock and monitoring the situation to see which would be a rational route to sell their cocoa beans. I want to commend the farmer and also Jeremy for explaining the issues. We have realized that the issues that are confronting us now are structural. And so it's important that we take our time as a country and deal with the issues once and for all. You will recall that there were some cocoa bills floated, and in the 2024-2025 cocoa season, requests for proposals were floated for a syndicated loan to be raised, but government was unable to raise that. And this was a direct financial response from the funders because of what had happened to cocoa bills and in the DEEP program. And so confidence was lost. And so it had to now bequeath the responsibility of financing the buying to the cocoa companies. So if an LBC is solvent enough, they go ahead and buy. If they are not, they look for off-takers, and then they are pre-financed. So this was a shift. After 32 years of utilizing syndicated loans, we came to a point where, because of the domestic debt exchange program, there was no confidence anymore from the finance institutions. And so we had to look for money, really, to support this. Now, this model has existed, has been on for the last 2 or 3 years now running. And so it becomes difficult for cocoa boards, now the current cocoa board, that also inherited some beans rollover. If you recall, they had a 333,000 metric tons of beans that they had to pay. And these were forward sales sold at $2,600 per ton, where the price is shot up to between $10,000 and $12,000. So it was only rational that you couldn't pay for that. You rather will sell on spot than wait to pay for $2,600. However, I have to commend Cocoa Board. As we interrogated their books, we realized that the 333,000 metric tons have actually been paid. They paid at least $2,000 300 and so thousand metric tons. So they are left with under 100,000 metric tons of that cocoa debt, if you like, to pay. Now, that means that there's some good management going on there, and we want to interrogate it further. We've set up a meeting with Cocoa Board, so we are meeting them on Wednesday to check what the next action steps are. But once I have your forum, what I want to know, what I want to recommend as a committee is that we are not interested in the stories. We represent the people. Our farmers, I know they cannot sell to Nigeria or Cote d'Ivoire because they'll get less prices there. So there's actually no incentive to smuggle. So don't be worried about that. Now, what will the government do to be able to respond to these farmers' needs, because some are still holding cocoa beans? And so I call on government to look critically at a new financing model.
Okay.
Let's raise bonds and raise funding and financing for this, what is left to be bought, and then the next cocoa financing season. I also think that we should not just raise bonds and continue buying beans year in, year out. We should be able to link it to value addition. So as part of the work of our committee, we want to go out and check what is the status of value-adding companies that are in the country. What is their capacity? Where do they source their beans from? What quantities do they source them from? What do they produce? How do they sell what they produce? So we are very interested in the value chain bit. And this serves as a buffer market that you can have the cocoa beans sold to. Because in the past, we realized that most of the cocoa beans were exported, and that the processing companies in country couldn't actually get enough beans to get their capacity satisfied. I also think that we should think as a country, begin to think about price deregulation. So that if the cocoa price goes up, the farmer gains. If it goes down, the farmer loses. However, we can put checks where it doesn't go down a certain minimum so that the farmer can continue to be in business.
Dr. Joso, I'm afraid I have to